The morning sun cast a soft golden light over the bamboo grove. Birds chirped harmoniously, their melodies merging with the breeze. A soft breeze carried the fragrance of blooming jasmines, mingling with the murmur of a nearby stream. The Buddha's gentle gaze swept across the assembly, his presence exuding peace and wisdom. His serene face exuded wisdom, calm, and immeasurable depth of understanding. After a moment of silence, he addressed the assembly of disciples. "Beloved ones," the Buddha began, his voice a harmonious blend of compassion and clarity. "The mind is like a restless monkey. It leaps from branch to branch, thought to thought, never pausing, never still." His gaze fell upon Ananda, a young disciple whose forehead bore the lines of inner turmoil. "Ananda," the Buddha called gently, "what occupies your thoughts today?" Ananda looked up, his eyes reflecting unease. "Master," he said, bowing his head, "my mind is consumed by memories of my family and the home I left behind." The Buddha nodded, his expression calm. "Memories, Ananda, can become like a strong wind that stirs the waters of the mind." He pointed to a nearby pond shimmering in the morning light. "Observe the stillness of that water," the Buddha said. His voice carried the weight of 1,000 truths, each syllable a seed of enlightenment. "Such a man, in his pursuit, neglects the joy of simple sustenance, the beauty of a contented heart." Ananda listened intently, his shoulders slowly relaxing under the weight of the Buddha's words. The other disciples watched in silent reverence. "To still the mind," the Buddha said, "one must practice mindfulness. It is the path to inner tranquility. The bamboo bends with the wind, yet remains rooted, distinguished by observing, without resistance or judgment. So must your thoughts find their anchor." The disciples shifted slightly, their focused silence indicating their deep engagement. The Buddha instructed them to assume a seated posture. "Straighten your spine," the Buddha guided, "like the trunk of a sal tree. Let your body relax, yet be firm in awareness." "Now," he said, "focus your attention on your breath. Observe the inhale and exhale, as it moves through you." The disciples closed their eyes, following his teachings with devotion and sincerity. Birds continued their songs, a natural symphony to their practice. "Thoughts will arise," the Buddha acknowledged, his voice soothing. "Do not fight them. Let them come and pass like clouds across the sky." A cool breeze drifted through the grove, carrying the faint scent of jasmine flowers in bloom. The moment felt sacred. As moments passed, Ananda began to feel his mind's chaos subside. An unfamiliar calm washed over him like a steady wave. "See the breath," the Buddha continued, "as the thread that connects your mind and body to the present moment." His words resonated, each syllable a gentle push toward understanding and self-mastery. The Buddha's words lingered, their resonance vibrating through the souls of his disciples. "Imagine," he said, "a jar filled with clear water, into which a single drop of dye is introduced." The monks pictured the image in their minds, the clarity of the water disrupted by the ink's presence. "Even one unskillful thought or action," the Buddha explained, "can ripple through the mind, coloring its essence." He rose gracefully from his seat, a beacon of calm amidst the vibrant life of the forest. The disciples opened their eyes. "Through the practice of mindfulness," the Buddha said, "you can still the ripples and restore the pristine flow of awareness." A young monk named Rahula, his eyes wide with earnest curiosity, posed a question. "Master," Ananda said, his voice trembling with gratitude, "your words have lifted a great weight from my heart." The Buddha placed a compassionate hand on Ananda's shoulder. "The peace you seek lies within you," he said. He stepped forward, addressing the group, his disciples' attentive faces reflecting awe and reverence. "Each of you holds the power of this stillness. It is not found in the distant lands nor the heights of mountains," he said. "It resides in the heart of presence." The disciples nodded, absorbing the profound wisdom like parched land drinking the first rains of the season. Let the restless monkey find its rest, the Buddha concluded. And in stillness, you will discover the moon within. Their assembly dispersed quietly, each carrying the lessons learned beneath the ancient sal tree. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Even nature itself appeared touched by the words, as if every leaf, bird, and breeze bore witness to an eternal truth. The Buddha moved through the grove, his steps soft yet purposeful, embodying the tranquility he had imparted. Birds resumed their melodies. The disciples watched as their teacher disappeared into the forest, the embodiment of mindfulness and peace within their hearts. Another day began in the vibrant streets of Rajagaya, filled with merchants, beggars, and noblemen navigating their daily pursuits. Disciples walked silently through the crowded alleys, observing the bustling activities that marked human existence. The air carried scents of spices and oils, mingling with the sounds of hawkers calling out for buyers. Every corner revealed lives entangled in desires. The disciples returned to their humble dwelling, their minds heavy with reflections of human cravings. The Buddha sat in quiet meditation under the shade of a neem tree, his presence radiating serene calm and unwavering clarity. The disciples gathered around him, forming a semicircle with reverence etched on their faces. Mahakasyapa, his voice tinged with desperation, spoke first. Master, the cravings and attachments we witness burden my heart. They are insatiable fires consuming everyone in their path. The Buddha opened his eyes slowly, his gaze falling upon Mahakasyapa, offering both understanding and compassion. He raised his hand, gesturing to a nearby oil lamp. Mahakasyapa, the Buddha began, his voice soothing yet firm. Craving is like this flame, fed continuously by the oil poured into it. He held the lamp aloft, its flame flickering in the gentle breeze. The flame grows with each addition, insatiable and devouring. But the Buddha continued, if you cease to add oil, the flame cannot sustain itself. It dies, leaving behind peace. His words settled into the hearts of the disciples, like rain soaking into dry soil, nourishing their weary minds. To consume without thought or gratitude dishonors the essence of what sustains and perpetuates a cycle of greed and neglect, the Buddha said. His words carried the weight of universal truth, reaching beyond the boundaries of the assembly to echo through time. The first step, he said, is to observe without judgment. See the cravings for what they are, he explained. Transient visitors, impermanent and empty, clinging only because we let them. He gestured toward the streets beyond, bustling with endless activity. Attachments tie the self to suffering, like a moth drawn blindly into fire. The disciples listened attentively, their silence a sign of their immersion in the teachings unfolding before them. Mahakasyapa raised another question. Master, is it enough to simply observe? He asked. Will the cravings not persist unless actively uprooted from within? The Buddha smiled faintly, his eyes carrying a depth impossible to fathom. Observation is the beginning, he said. Action follows. He guided the disciples into a meditative posture, straightening their backs and placing their hands gently upon their knees. The breeze cooled. Close your eyes, the Buddha instructed. Focus on the breath that moves naturally within you, like wind brushing through trees. Visualize your craving, he continued, his voice steady. Imagine it as a flame, flickering before you, neither threatening nor consuming. Now, he said, let the breath extinguish the flame. With every exhale, see the craving diminish until it disappears entirely. The disciples obeyed, their breaths growing steady and measured, harmonizing with the teachings of their beloved master. Silence enveloped the gathering. Time passed, each disciple immersed in the practice, their minds confronting the inner fires that once seemed insurmountable. Mahakasyapa stirred, Opening his eyes, Mahakasyapa found clarity he had not felt before. His face softened, an expression of newfound understanding emerging. "Beloved ones," the Buddha said, his voice breaking their meditative silence. "Observe how the breath empowers you to release suffering." His gaze swept across the assembly, resting briefly upon Mahakasyapa before extending outward, encompassing each individual disciple. "Cravings are insidious fires," the Buddha said, "but within each of you lies the power to relinquish their hold entirely." The disciples rose from meditation, their faces reflecting serenity and gratitude. His voice softened, the firelight dancing across his face like fleeting reflections of illumination. "Let me share a story with you about a disciple who once sought my guidance on this path. There was a young man," the Buddha began, "who filled his life with tales of violence, idle chatter, and distractions." His disciples listened intently, their focus unwavering, drawn into the unfolding narrative as if witnessing its events themselves. He paid no mind to the teachings of mindfulness and indulged in fleeting pleasures, neglecting the purity of his inner field. This disciple's thoughts became turbulent, his spirit restless, and his harvest nothing but the weeds of confusion and despair, the Buddha said. The neem tree swayed gently in the breeze, its leaves catching the sunlight, as if bearing witness to eternal wisdom. Another day in Rajagaya had ended, yet the teachings offered beneath the neem tree echoed far beyond its fleeting hours. Another day dawned in the village of Sravasti, its streets echoing with the cries of the hungry and desolate. Disciples walked among the villagers, observing the suffering etched into the faces of children, parents, and the elderly alike. The famine had gripped the land, leaving the villagers desperate and weak, clutching at the remnants of their hopes. Returning to their modest dwelling, the disciples gathered around the Buddha, their hearts heavy with what they had witnessed. The Buddha sat calmly in the courtyard, his presence an anchor of peace amidst the swirling tides of despair. His gaze fell on Sariputta, who stepped forward with sorrow in his voice. "Master, the suffering here overwhelms us. What can we do to ease their burden?" The Buddha's eyes softened, reflecting compassion and understanding, as he addressed his disciples. "Beloved ones, suffering reveals the interconnectedness of all beings. To ease others' burdens is to walk the path of true enlightenment." He began recounting a story, his voice a calming balm to their troubled spirits. Long ago, a king saw a starving sparrow struggling in the winter's cold. The king broke his meal in half, though he had little to share. The king gave the sparrow sustenance, and the bird flew with newfound strength, the Buddha said. His voice carried wisdom that enveloped each disciple like a warm embrace. The king's joy was not in what he gained but in the bird's flight. A symbol of compassion in action, he added. The disciples nodded, their spirits stirred by the lesson hidden within the simple act of giving. Compassion, the Buddha continued, is not found in words or prayers alone. It is discovered in the offering of oneself to another. He gestured toward their humble provisions, stored modestly in earthen jars near the corner. Gather your food, the Buddha instructed. However little it may be, share it among the villagers. Not as charity, but as kinship. The disciples moved quietly, bringing forth the small portions of rice and grains they had reserved for sustenance. The giving of food, the Buddha said, is more than an act of survival. It is an offering of love and unity. The disciples carried baskets of rice into the village, their every step echoing the Buddha's teachings. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video. As the grains filled their empty bowls, the villagers smiled, a flicker of joy igniting within their weary hearts. The disciples shared not only food but also the practice of loving-kindness meditation, introducing it gently to the villagers. Close your eyes, the disciples said. echoing the Buddha's teachings. Extend your goodwill to yourself, your loved ones, and even those you do not know. The villagers followed, their murmured breaths weaving an invisible thread of unity within the community. Hours passed, the disciples returning to the Buddha, their faces reflecting a strange mixture of exhaustion and fulfillment. Sariputta knelt before the Buddha, his voice trembling with emotion. Master, their suffering persists, but their gratitude has transformed our own hearts. Imagine a merchant traveling a treacherous mountain pass, burdened with goods yet encountering a traveler in need of assistance. The Buddha began. His words painted a vivid scene, drawing his disciples into the story's unfolding wisdom. He gestured to the empty provisions. Though your jars are bare, your hearts overflow with merit, sustaining you as rivers sustain the earth. Wisdom teaches us to act with consideration, balancing compassion with clarity, ensuring our actions align with the greater good, the Buddha said. His voice carried the tone of both challenge and encouragement, inspiring his disciples to think deeply about their responsibilities. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting golden light across the riverbank, illuminating the teachings with its quiet radiance. The Buddha turned his attention to the flowing water, allowing the moment to settle before continuing his discourse. A gentle breeze passed through the courtyard, carrying the scent of marigolds that bloomed resiliently despite the famine. Hours later, as the meditation concluded, the disciples opened their eyes, their faces alight with renewed purpose and clarity. Beloved ones, the Buddha said, when you ease the suffering of others, you awaken the deepest truth of interconnected existence. The disciples listened as the Buddha concluded, compassion does not drain the self. It replenishes the soul, enriching all it touches. Reap the fruits of wisdom through clarity in thought, compassion in action, and interconnectedness in being, he instructed. His disciples remained seated, their thoughts focused on the lessons of the day, their resolve strengthened by the clarity of their path. Even the famine seemed momentarily less daunting, as the spirit of unity wove the villagers and disciples together. The Buddha sat in the quiet of the evening, watching the stars emerge, his serene presence a beacon amidst the darkness. Another day ended in Sravasti, yet its teachings echoed beyond time, guiding hearts toward compassion and collective strength. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.